Good evening. It's now 6 o'clock, and I call this workshop of the Victoria City Council to order. Our workshops are informal, so we'll get started right away. We have one item on the workshop this evening, which is an update from the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District. Introducing the topic and our guest this evening is our city engineer, Kara Guerin. Ms. Guerin, please.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Representatives from the Watershed District are here to update the council and anybody listening about all of their great efforts recently, and we realize that they haven't been here quite some time, it sounds like, so we're happy to have you here.
Welcome back. Please, James, introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Mayor, council members, staff, and audience members. I'm James Whisker. I'm the administrator for the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District. I'm joined by a couple of folks in the audience that I wanted to introduce. We've got Mike Heyman, who's our director of projects, our capital project planning group, and Sophia Green, recently joined the district as a project planner. And then I have our board member from Carver County, board member manager Bill Olson is here with us tonight. So if you have any questions, they'll go that way. I'm just here to give the presentation, but I wanted to thank you all for finding the time for this touch point tonight with Minnehaha Creek Watershed District. It has been a minute, and my goal is to talk about everything that we've accomplished together in working towards your vision as the city of lakes and parks, and also where we might find our next areas of partnership in the coming months or coming years. There's three things that I want to leave with the council this evening. Number one, and hopefully this comes throughout the presentation, is the Watershed District's deep gratitude for the City Council and City staff and Kara's vision, leadership, and partnership with the Watershed District over the last 5 or 6 years. Number two, the outside dollars that we've all leveraged by working together to make meaningful improvements to the natural environment that really makes Victoria a special place to live, work, and play. And then three, where we see our next round of opportunities in this part of the watershed. So before I jump right in, I wanted to set the table by framing our watershed. The Minnehaha Creek watershed covers 178 square miles, and it contains a rich mosaic of land use, natural resources, and municipal personalities. The watershed covers portions of Hennepin and Carver County. We have 29 communities that range from rural or ex-urban in the west all the way into more dense urban land use in the east. We're blessed with a density of resources as well. We have over 120 lakes, 10 major stream systems, and thousands of wetlands moving from the upper watershed with the western chain of lakes in Victoria through to Lake Minnetonka, our namesake Minnehaha Creek, of course the Minneapolis chain of lakes, and the iconic Minnehaha Falls. And on a vision level, I think the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District and the City of Victoria share a lot of alignment around vision. The Watershed District believes that natural systems underpin local identity and that they can create a sense of place, and that when properly integrated, that watershed work is really an essential component in building out thriving communities. And because land use and the decisions that we make as people around how we're using our land, from the roads that we drive on to where we shop and where we live, is such a big driver in how much water we have and the runoff and the quality of water. But the fact that the Watershed District doesn't own or control all the decisions that are made about the land, whether we're working on capital projects or policy, Minnehaha Creek Watershed District is always spending a lot of time thinking about how our investments can be catalysts for the goals of our partners like the city in the built environment. And we do that by taking a data-driven understanding. First, understanding what are the issues and the drivers and the management strategies that would be effective in the watershed's natural systems. But then we go about layering in our partners' objectives, which might relate to transportation and infrastructure or economic development, community development, and parks and open space, so that we can build amazing places in the watershed that are not only good for the environment, they're good for the communities that we serve, and they're good for the people that live in them. And what we found is over and over again that this practice of integrating systems planning has revealed new creative opportunities for capital investment. It's also brought a deeper level of support from our partners like you, and it's helped us leverage scarce public and private resources so that we can make really measurable improvements in water quality while delivering broader benefit to the community. And it just so happens to be a lot more fun doing work that way. So in recent years, as part of our what we call our Lake Minnetonka strategy to address the largest polluting tributaries to Lake Minnetonka, this vision and strategy has been hard at work with you all, focused in the upper watershed in 6 Mile Creek, which drains to Halstead Bay, one of the most impaired water bodies in our whole system. All 27 square miles of this geography drain to Halstead Bay, and Victoria was one of our first partners as early as 2015, as outlined in your packet, when we developed a philosophical alignment that's documented in a memorandum of understanding. And in that document and going forward, Victoria really led with the district in acknowledging the presence out here of several regionally significant resources, a number of which were impaired, didn't meet water quality standards, as well as understanding that many of these resources are highly interdependent. The upstream lakes impact the downstream lakes. The wetlands that are part of the system impact the lakes. And also that the land use change that would come from the city's growth south around Wasserman would intensify in pressure over time as you grew south towards Chaska, and that there was a heavy degree of jurisdictional complexity and partnership opportunities. There's a number of cities out here. We span 2 counties. There's Carver Park Reserve with 3 Rivers Park District, and so there are a lot of players. So to help us ground all the partners and leading up to our 2017 watershed plan, our 10-year plan, we spent a lot of time building that first layer, that technical understanding of the natural systems within the watershed. So we started out thinking about the runoff and pollutant loading from the landscape. We looked at the legacy phosphorus, or the nutrients that are inside some of our lakes from historic land use decisions that we've made as a people, and how common carp, fish in these lakes, might contribute to poor water quality. Carp root around in the bottom sediments and uproot plants and make water cloudy and contribute to algal blooms. But like I said, moving beyond our science and the watershed science, we spent a considerable amount of time really thinking about the goals and needs of our various partners. And I listed a few of them a moment ago. We spent time sitting down with planners, with engineers, with elected officials, with planning commission members, with lake association members, to really gain a context for what are the local priorities that need to be served if we're going to enter the community and make investment in watershed improvements. And that helped us, we think, understand the City of Victoria's perspective, its vision for stewarding the natural environment, its focused growth south around Wasserman Lake, while growing the central business district along Steiger, and working to find ways to connect the community to the beauty of your natural areas out in this part of the watershed. We use what we learned to develop a clear strategy for improving water quality by breaking down this 27 square miles into manageable pieces, management units that help guide our work systematically through improvements on the landscape, managing common carp, and alum dosing to address nutrient loading that's happening in the lakes, and doing that work in concert with other planned public investments to both improve water quality and manage the volume of water from this headwaters down towards Halstead Bay on Lake Minnetonka. So with that background, I'm going to tick through a few of the things that we've worked on together. South of Steiger Lake in 2013, the Watershed District purchased some easements and some land and fee to restore a complex of wetlands that drained to Steiger, ultimately filtering over 250 acres of runoff before it reaches Steiger Lake right out here, reducing pollutant loading to the lake by over 90 pounds of a year, and ensuring that Steiger remains a high-quality resource that continues to anchor downtown Victoria. Nearby, we worked together to think about the future of downtown development, and the Watershed District helped the City of Victoria secure over $250,000 in state clean water legacy funding to retrofit an existing stormwater management system on the west side of downtown to provide treatment for over 22 acres of land before it enters East Auburn. And I think it's the Roars development on your agenda this evening for TIF consideration benefits directly from that foresight and those strategic investments in infrastructures that stormwater is managed by those retrofits. Looking system-wide with the supporters of the city of supportive partners like the City of Victoria and others, we were also able to work with the University of Minnesota to first understand common carp populations, how many are out here and where they move, the population dynamics, and then develop a management plan that was supported with over $600,000 in legislative funding to implement one of the state's largest efforts to manage common carp. We ultimately removed over 280,000 pounds of fish, which is a lot of fish, that are damaging to the shallow lake environment, and helped restore almost 2,500 acres of shallow in-lake habitat and water quality through both the strategic construction of barriers, some shallow lake aeration to improve predation on carp, and then adult biomass removal or fishing, like you see here through commercial fishing, like commercial fishermen. Sorry, I'm stumbling there. Then I want to start moving a little bit further south and at the heart of Wasserman Lake and nearby Wasserman Lake ponds. We work to address internal sources of phosphorus, pulling in $300,000 of state clean water legacy funding to directly dose both Wasserman Lake and the nearby ponds with aluminum sulfate to address internal sources of phosphorus. And on the lake, we'd also done some landscape work that preceded some of that alum dosing. So before any of those projects were underway for Wasserman, we were working closely with Lennar. This is a view from the south side of the lake looking north. Looks completely different today, but we worked closely with Lennar to take what they considered as a regulatory liability, a pinch in the process, in their EAW process, where they were proposing wetland fill and needed some mitigation. And we turned that impact and mitigation into a big restoration opportunity. We brought the DNR to the table and aligned some DNR policy, and with the district paying, securing some paid for easements and support from the city's engineer, ultimately Lennar restored almost 20 acres of wetland on site at a dollar amount cheaper than going to an out of watershed bank. So we were able to retain wetland acreage in the community and leverage over $250,000 of private capital, all of which benefits Wasserman Lake as it develops and the people that live on the lake. So a lot of that work was happening. I don't think that's a perfect chronology, but a lot of that work was happening, and I think all of that pre-work and partnership momentum helped us as a group see what was possible when 33 acres of the last remaining green space around Wasserman Lake came up on the market for sale. And we were able to collaborate with community members, the council, staff, our design team to develop a concept plan, and with the city council support, the Watershed District ran point on both acquiring and financing the property and holding it for future city park improvements for now what's called Wasserman Lake Preserve. And after several years moving through the acquisition negotiation and concept planning and design, we were able to break ground and deliver a space that reflects, I think, both our visions for how the natural environment creates place and contributes to community and community well-being. Really feel like together we've planted a flag with the Wasserman Lake Preserve, this ecologically based park which provides lake access, nature-based recreational opportunity, and sits at one of the highest points overlooking the lake. And as you all know, it provides public access to now restored Wasserman Lake with a shelter and picnic area, with nature play. There's a picture of my kids trying to not hurt themselves. And really helps kids creatively immerse and connect with nature, which I know we can all resonate with in this day of age, as well as space for people to gather and celebrate community, while also understanding the significance of this little piece of property within the entire watershed through an interpretive loop and a watershed walk that puts 6 Mile and Wasserman Preserve in contact as a place at a specific elevation within the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District. All the water from this park ultimately ends up in the Gulf of Mexico, and it goes through the rest of our watershed before it gets there. And of course, access to the water through the boardwalk that leads you out to the peninsula of the property. And as I like to say, I think the best part of all of this work, this whole portfolio of work, is that it is working. I'm showing here just a few of the metrics, but one of the most compelling, we think, is this. We're a little nerdy, but this is a graph of water quality trends for Wasserman Lake. And it shows that as of 2022, water quality had improved from 90 micrograms per liter, which is really high on the left in 2009, to just above state standards, around 50 to 40 micrograms per liter in 2022. And so we've made tremendous progress working together, not only in the physical improvements shared vision, leveraging outside dollars, but we're actually starting to see Wasserman Lake respond towards meeting state standards for swimmable and fishable. So again, our gratitude, my gratitude, and thanks for the city's vision, leadership, and partnership with the district and all that work. And in terms of our next priorities, with Wasserman beginning to respond favorably, obviously that's something we're going to keep monitoring and keep an eye on. We've started to turn our attention to the wetland complex that's just downstream, which we have monitored and found to be a net exporter or source of phosphorus downstream to Auburn Lake. So the restoration of this wetland, which again is tributary to Auburn, is finishing feasibility this year with Minnehaha Creek Watershed District and our leadership and our capital in coordination with the city. It's slated for design in 2024, and this would be intended to further reduce pollutant loading to Auburn and see that lake begin towards trending to meet state standards and being delisted. And this is something that we might be in front of you again in the near future, later this year or early next year. As part of the development process, a lot of land ends up being deeded back to the city, so that wetland is actually owned by the city, and we'd be working collaboratively with your staff to bring forward a proposal to access that property and do some of the restoration. In our second, area of emphasis, we think lies within the western growth area. Just to the west of Wasserman and East Auburn there, between Turbid Lake and Lunston Lake to the north, where we see the potential for a whole series of connected wetland restorations and stream restoration projects that we think could form a really compelling green spine or a corridor from Turbid Lake to Lunston, which sits in Carver Park Reserve. We think that that could anchor future development, offset regulatory requirements, create space and pedestrian corridors connecting people to open space and nature. And we hope to begin planning on that corridor in coordination with the city early in the new year. So with that, hopefully I didn't take too much time, left some room for questions. We've looked back at where we started, hopefully got a sense of what we've accomplished together, and just provided a quick snapshot of where we might be going in the future. So I wanted to finish again just by saying thank you and welcoming any questions and saying hi to Attorney Gross, who I haven't seen for a really long time. Yeah.
Terrific. Well, we want to echo that thanks right back at you guys, because it's been a great partnership, and it was a nice walk down memory lane on those projects that we worked together and where we started and where we are now. So again, I want to reflect that gratitude right back at you. Okay, council, questions, comments? I think we're all content and happy with all the good work that's been done.
That is perfect for me. That means a job well done. It was so clear that I didn't generate confusion or questions. We have a few handouts to leave with you, and we also have a letter from Mike, I think, that we'll leave with Dana, just expressing our thanks for all the partnership to date. And Dana and staff know where we are if any questions do come up, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you to your staff and Bill, who showed up to provide some support to you tonight.
Great.
Thanks.
Hope you have a wonderful council meeting.
Thank you.
Good to see you, James.
All right, council, seeing no further discussion, there are no more items on our
busy, that's for sure. Yeah,
workshop agenda this evening, so I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I've got a motion. How about a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We stand adjourned. And we will be adjourned.